All right, folks, we're back with part 2 of our WrestleMania review. I'm Tony.
And I am the Law.
And we are Scotch and Sports. And we're going to get right into our night 2 of WrestleMania review. What do we got first, Law? What's coming up? Oh, first of all, it is the same recording session, so we're still drinking our same scotches and whiskeys.
Yep.
Why don't you remind us what you got there, Law?
Well, I've got the Elijah Craig small batch. This is Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It's 94 proof, and it is delicious.
And I'm going with the 10-year Bullet Bourbon, one of my favorites. It's fantastic. So let's get right into this. Cheers to you, Law.
Cheers to you, sir. All right.
All right, what do we got first? What was first on night 2? Let's jog my memory here.
All right, so first up, we have the NXT Women's Championship. Charlotte Flair defeats Rhea Ripley.
Yes. Wow. You know what? Very same vibes as night 1 with Baszler and Lynch. What a great match this was. They both these girls let it all hang out. It was an old school fight. I believed they were fighting. I believe they were at each other's throats. I believe that Charlotte Flair might have broken Rhea Ripley's leg at one point.
I was
with some of the chop blocks.
I was so invested. First of all, Charlotte Flair's chop blocks are along the lines. They are the same quality as that reviled Broncos line from like the late 90s, like Mark Schlereth and those guys who were constantly diving at other people's knees. And that's what was going on here early on. They were, This is how you play both attacking and selling an injury. And it did, it got dicey. There were some moments, and man, they kept going back to one slow-mo of Charlotte coming at Rhea's left knee from the side that really it freaked me out watching it. I was expecting that the poor girl was going to tear her PCL. You know,
well, that's the thing. That's art, man. That's just art. If she truly came out of that with absolutely no leg damage whatsoever, that's just art.
Yeah.
And there's nobody in the world that performs to the level that the top women in WWE do right now. And it's just unbelievable. That match was just kicked it right out of the gate. It was perfect to me. You know what? And I love Charlotte Flair. I got to say I love Charlotte Flair because she makes you hate her in the way that a heel is supposed to make you hate her. And she does it perfect. And I have nothing but good things to say about this match.
This is the best wrestling match of the night. Might have been the best wrestling match. Yeah, okay. So then there we go. This is the best wrestling match of Mania. Lynch beating Baszler, very close second. I think we're both in agreement there. All right, so hey, kudos to both of them. But that was the opener. And then we move on, and we have Aleister Black defeating Bobby Lashley.
And who cares?
Yeah, man.
I really want to care about Aleister Black. And I really still don't after this. It was lackluster. It was, look at the moves I could do. Oh, yeah? Well, look at the moves I could do. Okay, well, we've looked at each other's moves. Let's go home.
Now, I will say this. The finish was good. You know, Lashley is going to win, and Lana yells at him, which, moment that plays better with no crowd, because honestly, among 70,000 screaming people, how do you hear her?
Right.
So quick throwback to boxing fans, and this is going to be awful because now I'm going to make a boxing reference for a guy that last fought, I don't know, like 15 years ago. But when you're watching the way that Lana yells at Bobby Lashley, do you ever think back to Chris Bird and his wife?
Oh my God! Yeah, for those of you who don't know what Law is talking about, go back if you could find the Vladimir Klitschko fight, Chris Bird versus Vladimir Klitschko, where Klitschko absolutely annihilates Chris Bird, and the entire fight is just Chris Bird's wife screaming at him. Don't do that, do this. What are you doing? Get up now.
And she was walking around the ring too. Like it's really hilarious in hindsight to think about that, because that's exactly like for those of you that are only watching wrestling, like there exists a counterpart to Lana in the real world, at least her actions during the fight, I should say. Not the whole Rusev Lashley thing, like that's another animal, but like there is someone who acts like that when her husband, who is a professional boxer in a title fight, no less, she acts that way, walking around the ring, barking like she's his trainer or something. And it's so absurd that, like, here we are 15 years later, and there is a wrestling character that I don't know if Lana realizes she's ripping off Chris Bird's wife, but she is.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. Lana was like 9 years old when that fight happened.
So anyway, finish is good because Lana yells at Lashley, no, go for the spear. And Lashley takes forever to stop and wink at her and point at her, just so she knows that he's winking at her, not anyone else that wasn't there. And then by the time he turns around, Black has a kick in his face, and Black wins. So it sets up tension between Lashley and Lana. But other than that, all right, moving on to some very very established personalities. We've got Otis of Heavy Machinery defeating Dolph Ziggler. Of course, there's the big storyline with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville tricking Mandy behind her back into standing Otis up so that Ziggler can move in. And there's honestly a lot in this storyline that doesn't make a load of sense. I scoffed before the match at people that were comparing it to Macho Man Miss Elizabeth. Yeah, but the way that Twitter blew up afterwards, that, for younger fans, this was a big moment. Otis walking off, carrying Mandy Rose, presumably to go be romantic somewhere. It was, people loved it. I thought it was a cute moment. I'm not as invested as the younger set is for this. The actual match was good. I love watching Otis wrestle because I love when he does the worm. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, he's again, that kind of crossed over into a little bit too silly for my taste. But I mean, the guy is a solid worker, and I understand why Twitter would blow up, and I understand where the whole premise is coming from, that, the whole Beauty and the Beast kind of thing, that, anybody could, be beautiful on the inside. And I get it. I do. It's just that you can, I think that angles in wrestling surrounding a love interest can work. I just don't know that they have to be so silly. Like, I mean, if you wanted to make the point that, all right, Otis is this gruff-looking, big, fat dude who's getting this beautiful stunner, sweetheart girl, why do you also have to make him colossally stupid? Like, why does he have to be like some sort of Chris Farley character in one of those movies with David Spade from the 90s? Why can't you just be a normal fat dude? I don't. So you're trying to go against the grain and break sort of stereotypes about what kind of people belong together, but at the same time, he's big and fat, so he must be stupid. I don't know. It's the whole thing. I felt dirty watching it. I just felt dirty watching.
All right, so let's talk about Randy Orton losing to Edge. Edge defeats Randy Orton in a last man standing match that went for 38 minutes.
This match, it was detrimental to my health. This was detrimental to my health and my mental health, and actually also to my wife's mental health, because I accidentally texted her instead of you, and the text said, They can't do this to me. I've done nothing to deserve this. And my wife thought I was in mortal peril. And I was like, no, I'm sorry. That was supposed to go to law. I'm watching WrestleMania. And she's like, that good, huh? So, look, this match, why does Edge's big comeback match have to be a last man standing match? They could have had such a great normal match. And the last man standing match, now that we're out of the era of kayfabe, now that kayfabe is dead, a last man standing match makes no sense anymore. It just doesn't make sense anymore because there's no conceivable way to beat somebody so bad they can't stand up, because we know they're not beaten so badly they can't stand up. Yeah, and you just wasted tremendous talent. There's two guys here that work better than 99% of all of the people in the history of the business, and you decide to have them hitting each other with blunt objects. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I've got two positives about this match and one that kind of lets you know where my mind was in the middle of it. I like the start of the match. Edge comes out first. Randy's music plays, and it turns out Randy was one of the cameramen the entire time. And then they actually do this cool thing for a bit where they're showing you some of the angles. It was sparing, but it was kind of cool. Some of the angles from Randy's camera as he's hitting Edge and that kind of stuff. That was I thought that was pretty cool. It's I like that, and I like the last 5 minutes of the match. They end up in the back of the performance center. Edge has to take a DDT onto a truck bed. And then the very, like I said, last 5 minutes, great acting by Edge. Orton goes for the concerto. Edge finds a way out of it. Edge has a moment there where he has Orton prone. And of course, again, if the objective is to win, he can just let him get counted out. He tells the ref, no, stop counting. And he really struggles with the next moment. And you can see, he felt pain. He did a great job selling that moment, acting that moment, hits Orton with the concerto, lets him get counted, and then lays down next to him. I thought for guys that have the history that they have, I thought the end of the match was beautiful. I appreciate the moments of legitimately good acting that we get. But for the other 32, 33 minutes of this match, it was just a tour of the Performance Center, which seems like a lovely place to, learn the craft. And at one point they get to the back, and this was like almost the midpoint of the match, and all of my notes are just on the ladders that they have in back. It's like, you had a ladder match last night. I'm supposed to believe that it's no one's job to fold these damn things up. They're just like, oh, okay, we just leave these ladders standing and put them in the back. And what actually took me out of the moment was you have all these stupid aluminum ladders that are good for nothing but breaking, standing all over the place, and you have the real quality, like, orange Werner ladder folded up and on the pile in the back there. Like,
kayfabe is dead.
Yeah, but just the fact that that's where my mind is going shows that this was ill-advised. This was not what it should have been.
Yeah, I'll say it made me go to bed. I had to go to bed, and I had to wake up the next day and finish it. It's just I'm sorry. It was just such a blown opportunity on what could have been just a superstar match if they just put it in a ring and let them do what we know they could do.
Well, all right. So it's a tag team championship match. This is the Street Profits. They defeat Angel Garza and Austin Theory.
Surprise.
Yeah. Nothing surprising about this. I will say this: the Street Profits were excited that it was WrestleMania. Wasn't supposed to be the team of Garza and Theory, so you knew they were going to lose right away.
Yeah, and it was cold because there was no real program rivalry going into this. So it was kind of cold. So it was certainly worked well, and I love the Street Profits, man. I can't wait to see where they go. But
it was
not too much to say about the match.
It was a quick match, and then they really built up to what's most likely going to be now a three person tag match or some type of mixed tag match because Selena Vega is out there with Garza and Theory at the end of the match. The three of them all pile on Montez Ford, and I didn't know this until I looked it up afterwards. His real life wife, Bianca Belair, comes out to save them.
Wow, didn't know that was his real wife. Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
And but I was like, oh well, there's really no reason for her to be here. I guess they're just building to a match between her and Vega or something. And then I looked it up, and no, she's Montez Ford's wife. She was out there defending her man, which also made it a lot better because after Belair saves them, Ford is there in the ring, and he is just ogling her hardcore. Like, I saw that not knowing that they were husband and wife, and I thought, oh, you're going a little hard there, buddy. Like, that's a little more like early 2000s WWF. And then I looked it up, and I was like, no, now it's sweet.
Yeah. Well, God, just makes me hope that Otis got what he deserves at the end of that. Well, anyway. Yeah, so that's a cool place to parlay it to. Maybe a nice mixed three-man, three-person tag program coming up. That could be pretty cool. But I guess we'll have to see where it goes. Other than that, good match. Congratulations, everybody. See you next year.
Yep. All right. So then we have Bayley retaining the SmackDown Women's title. This was Sasha Banks, Lacey Evans, Tamina Snuka, Naomi, and Bayley. I did like that everybody got, a few good moments here. I picked the dark horse here. I picked Lacey Evans, and oh man, they had me going for a minute. I got invested in this match only because they let Lacey Evans hang on till the very end.
Yeah. Well, I had picked Naomi because I thought that Vince McMahon was going to have some sort of white guilt for what he did to Kofi. Turns out, nope, no guilt whatsoever, just a racist.
Nope. And in the end, he made sure that Sasha kept being subservient to Bayley there. So we turned away. We turned into that swerve really, really hard.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, there's it's obvious that what they wanted to do here was tease the Bayley-Sasha breakup and then not have it happen, which it seems like they're still doing on TV based on what I saw earlier this week where, Tamina comes in and challenges Bayley, and Bayley says, fine, you can have it me if you beat my best friend, Sasha Banks. And Sasha looks at her like she's pissed at her. I don't. This whole Bayley Sasha thing is just spinning its wheels at this point. I don't know if it's punishment for Sasha Banks for crapping out last year after they lost the tag championship, but man, this whole storyline is boring me, and they need to get to the part where Sasha and Bayley fight each other and figure it out from there.
Yeah, they really do need to do something on the SmackDown end of the women's champions because Raw is hot and NXT is hot, and SmackDown is just kind of middling here with their roster, which is why I like your idea so much of having Lynch jump ship after a loss to Baszler, but obviously that didn't happen. So I hope they could right the ship here, because this really was just boring to me. The Baszler Lynch match and the Flair Ripley match were leagues ahead of this. And they didn't have to pack 13 people into the match to do it. One-on-one, some real passion between the combatants, and it just gives you gold. And here, this gave you more like aluminum.
I like that. Aluminum. All right, moving on. The 24/7 championship changed hands again. Yeah, the same way it always does. Mojo Rawley, for some reason, didn't go home and is just running around the performance center with a bunch of other guys around him. And wouldn't you know it, Gronk is up there on a balcony, and all these other guys are just in a big clump below. Shock of all shocks, Gronk throws himself off the balcony to get to them, and he ends up pinning someone at the bottom of that mess.
Joe Rawley, yeah.
Yeah. And he walks away with the 24/7 championship. And that plays into this moment, because right around now, after the SmackDown women's match, Titus O'Neil gets on. And Titus O'Neil sets us up for one of the best moments of the night, when he announces that Gronk is the 24/7 champion, so no one knows where he is. So Titus is the host of Wrestlemania right now, and we'll be right back. And they go to commercial.
Wow.
And Titus is only there to sell one moment. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Do we have anything to say about Rob Gronkowski being 24/7 champion?
No. There's nothing that can be said about this. I don't even know how to criticize.
All right. Well, then that brings us to the other most talked about cinematic match of WrestleMania, Night 2's presentation. You have Bray Wyatt defeating, I'm going to put in quotes with a question mark after it, John Cena. Again, going to start the same way that we started the Boneyard match. It's not wrestling. But what are your feelings?
This is even less wrestling.
Yeah, this is most definitely less wrestling than the Boneyard match. From a wrestling action standpoint, I definitely liked the Boneyard match more, but from an exploration of character standpoint, from how it entertained me and captivated me, I liked this. I'm going to keep calling it the Firefly Funhouse match, because that's what they called it, but I understand it was not a match. But I like the Firefly Funhouse match even more. I thought this was. I thought there was a lot that I liked about it, but give me your take.
Again, I'm more of a purist. I'm more old fashioned. This to me was just why. I don't even know what or why I'm looking at it. It could have, for the Bray Wyatt gimmick, I think this could have worked as a promo, like an extended sort of promo, because there are certain things in there about what he's saying about John Cena, how everything's handed to him, how he's the golden child, and I get all of that, but I just don't understand it being twisted into the context of a quote-unquote competition between two people. And it wasn't presented as just mind games either. It was presented as in he legitimately beat him somehow at the end. And so I get, and I understand they were able to inject some comedy. They were able to inject some criticisms of Cena that many people have had in the past. But it just seemed really kind of, it just seemed kind of out of place. It just didn't seem to work for me. I mean, it would be I think again, I think if you switch it into the context of a promo, a mind games promo, where Bray Wyatt is trying to break down Cena prior to a match, or maybe you have him do this to him after he beats him in a match to try and psychologically break him, then I could see it a little bit clearer than that. But, like, what are we supposed to take away from this? And like a similar question I had after the Boneyard match. Okay, so based on the end of the match, are we going to assume that AJ Styles is dead? And based on he's dead now, right? So he's just dead. And now, based on the end of this, either John Cena is dead or he is just now the immortal slave of Bray Wyatt. So it just it comes back to being able to suspend disbelief. And that's what I think a lot of wrestling fans want to be able to do. But when you get into something like this, you know, like with a match like Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, I could suspend disbelief, and I'm watching a fight. With this, I cannot suspend my disbelief and say, oh, yes, there is an evil clown practicing black magic on John Cena. I can't do it. And again, if this was a movie about John Cena and Bray Wyatt was trying to break him psychologically, yeah, okay, then I think it's great. But in this context, it just, I was just sitting there the whole time baffled.
I think what I like about this so much is that it was, if you want to call it a match, which neither of us do, but if someone wants to call it a match, it was a psychological match, and Wyatt beat Cena in his own head. I like that in the build-up for this, Cena said at WrestleMania, the most overhyped, overprivileged superstar of the past 20 years is going to go down or will be ended or something like that. And it turns out the whole time he was talking about himself. And I very much, first of all, I very much appreciate the sense of humor and sense of humility that Cena had to go through with what was basically a slap in the face to everything. It's everything that fans have been chanting about since the days of CM Punk.
Yeah.
You know, they, everyone, he made fun of his debut because he's always been sensitive about coming out in those bright orange shorts and getting his butt kicked by Kurt Angle. He's, I mean, at one point they talked about fear of commitment, and Wyatt got in his ear and whispered, "Nikki," like that's some hardcore stuff right there. You know, I give Cena a world of credit for going out there like this, and yeah, I think this is the character change. It had me fully engaged the entire time. I always wanted to know what was going to happen next, and I imagine where it's going to go from now is that we're finally going to get a Cena character that's different, maybe a disciple of the Fiend or something, if he comes back at all in the near future. And maybe that's how you sell the feud with Braun Strowman and keep Braun looking strong, is that Braun only loses in the next big blow-off, presumably at SummerSlam, because Cena comes back and he's helping the Fiend now. I don't know. That's just what I took out of it. I really liked it. I was entertained. I realize, again, like the Boneyard match, it can't work on your normal WrestleMania, but they tried something different. And for me, they hit it out of the park.
Oh, yeah. I just try to always put wrestling in the context of what can I believe here, and I just don't know that I could believe anything that happened there. You know, that he's down in a twisted clown's workshop and getting his mind poked and prodded, and so it's, again, like I said, I think a TV show or a movie, sure. In the middle of my wrestling program, I don't know. It just seems out of place to me.
All right. Well, you alluded to it. We have come to the last match of night 2 of WrestleMania. This is for the WWE Championship, and Drew McIntyre goes over Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, he does. And what happened was they watched the night before and said, "Yeah, see that match? Let's just do that."
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say, and I don't think that has anything to do with Drew McIntyre, who as a worker I've always enjoyed him. I've heard the same rumors everybody else has heard, that he was a problem the first time he was with WWE backstage, and he apparently got himself straightened up, and I have loved the Scottish psychopath gimmick. The feud that he had with Reigns was a lot of fun last year, and all the rest of the Shield. So I'm happy that McIntyre went over here. I like him going over. But yeah, they did the same thing. They spammed finishing moves until a few minutes had passed. This one did go slightly longer than last night's. I was expecting the Strowman Goldberg fight to go short, so I actually kept time in my notes. The Strowman Goldberg fight was 2 minutes and 10 from bell to bell. This one lasted a little longer, but like you said, same crap, different day. Spam finishers. We got Suplex City, we got Claymore kicks, and McIntyre win.
Yeah, and I don't know. I am happy that McIntyre's got the title. I'm not sure, given the whole empty arena circumstances. And I said this in our preview as well. I think under normal circumstances, with a full stadium, McIntyre going over is clearly the right choice, because you create that WrestleMania moment, you create that buzz, you create that explosion of just roars and cheers when Lesnar's finally taken down. In an empty arena, it just came off so blah. I made the joke of saying, you're not going to get this eruption. What are you going to have? Just a giant Scottish man cradling and sobbing with his belt, and yeah, that's actually exactly what we got. We got dead silent. I mean, they eventually start playing his theme music, but it's just, I really feel like you could have dragged the program out a little longer. I'm wondering if something happened to Brock where he can't work. Why would they do this kind of match? At least Goldberg, he can't work, but Brock could work. So I don't know why they did this. Why they didn't actually have, even if it was only a 5-10 minute match, they still could have had a match. And so maybe that has something to do with it. But if Brock can still go, they should have really dragged this out until they could have had him drop it in front of a crowd that really, really wants to see him drop it, because he's got that heat where people want that belt off of him in the worst way. So I feel like, normal circumstances, it should have happened. Probably not in this environment. I think they should have extended the feud out a little bit. But I do have doubts as to whether or not Lesnar could still wrestle, because we clearly did this with Goldberg to cover up the fact that he's horrible. So maybe something's going on with Lesnar. I don't know.
It's definitely worth thinking about. But all right, so that's night 2 of WrestleMania. What gun to your head? You got to give it a grade. What grade are you going to give it?
You know what? I was C- on night 1. I think I'm going to go with a B here. I just think everything was a little bit more solid. If we're comparing apples to apples, I mean, I think the only thing that I really liked better from night 1 would be the Boneyard match over the Firefly Funhouse match. But overall, I thought everything here, besides the Firefly Funhouse that had me kind of in a tizzy, everything here was basically solid. It was everything was what it was, and it was done well. And the kickoff match just blew me out of the water. So I'm going with a B.
See, and this is great. This right here is why variety is the spice of life, because I'm actually going down from night one, and it's funny. Like my highlight moments of this WrestleMania are both night two. It's Charlotte and Ripley, obviously, and it's also the Firefly Funhouse match. But I thought through and through, I enjoyed the work in the matches more on night one. I'm giving night two a B minus. I still think that overall, especially given these circumstances, this was a really good WrestleMania. But I actually liked night one better. So, yeah.
Well, no.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, you never know what. Well, that's what this kind of thing is. Pretty subjective. So there's really. Look, I just hope that in the future we don't have to watch one without an audience anymore, because it's still that is bizarre. It was just so weird to have to sit through and watch it with no crowd.
Hear, hear. And speaking of hear, it's time for cheers. Pour one out, throw the bottle. So night two, WrestleMania. What's your cheers?
Well, cheers, God. I'm stealing it from you if you're not doing it, because
take it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's Flair and Ripley without a doubt. I mean, not only was that the greatest match of WrestleMania, that was the greatest WrestleMania match I've seen in a long time. And anybody could say anything they want about Charlotte. They're tired of her. They're tired of seeing her at the top of the card. They're tired of seeing her with belts on her. You know what? The reason she's there is because she generates that kind of heat, and you watch to see her get what she's got coming to her, and she's just so damn good at wrestling. And Rhea Ripley, man, she's going to be around for a long time. And as she works as a face, and I'm sure she'd work as a heel too, in very much the same vein. So I'm cheersing them.
All right, I am cheersing. I think you're going to like this. This is an old school argument that I've been big on, especially over the past few years. My cheers is a general one, and my cheers for this year's WrestleMania goes to finishing moves.
Okay.
Finishing moves, because this is something that I have been screaming to the heavens for a few years now, and I believe that finishing moves are starting to come back. Because my biggest complaint on pay-per-views for the past 3 or 4 years is kicking out of finishing moves. I can tell you all the times that finishing moves got kicked out of here. Becky Lynch kicked out of Shayna Baszler's finishing move early on in their match. Strowman and Goldberg kicked out of each other's finishing moves because that's all they did, because they're monsters and that's what monsters do. Charlotte kicks out of Rhea Ripley's finisher early in the match, and again, Charlotte's the more experienced one. She's gonna go over. What else? Hold on. Oh, Randy Orton starts the match with Edge with an RKO. No one expected that to end. It was meant to weaken him. And then you've got McIntyre and Lesnar spamming finishing moves. Other than that, unless I'm missing something, finishing moves ended matches.
It's true. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right there.
And I, as someone that's been livid about this for a while, I was thrilled that finishing moves mattered in this WrestleMania. So, cheers, finishing moves. Good to have you back. Please stick around for a while.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I guess now I got to pour one out on something here.
Yeah.
And I'm pouring one out. It might seem foolish, or it might not seem warranted, but I'm pouring one out for Drew McIntyre, because he got his quote unquote WrestleMania moment. But I really am harping on this whole thing happening without that thunderous WrestleMania crowd. I mean, you're just going to look back. I feel like we're going to look back on it and be like, oh, yeah, that's right, that time that Drew McIntyre won the title. When really it could have just been this monumental thing. I mean, beating Brock Lesnar happens so infrequently. So that just have it done in an empty arena, it really just takes a lot of the oomph out of it for me. So I feel bad for him because I really think this is his time. He should be on top, but it really would have been just so much better if he could have a crowd there for it.
Nice. All right. I'm pouring one out for Aleister Black's character. It's just not working. You know, he's got a style that does not fit with the motif, and they've got a. I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, maybe he should look into one of Becky Lynch's old trunks and steampunk himself up a little bit or something. But you know, this basically, you know, bargain store Ministry of Darkness Undertaker gimmick doesn't work well with the type of work that he does in the ring. And that's not a discredit to him personally. I know that WWE Creative has a lot to do with this. They got to find something better for him. I'm pouring one out for that character. Character's got to go.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I guess, and now I'm going to throw the bottle. I'm going to throw it right at Gronk. Oh my God! For the 24/7 title nonsense, for his just goofy, doofy looking face. And he was on the Patriots, and he didn't finish hosting WrestleMania, and I'm not sure what. Like, all right, he ran away with the title, so they bring in Titus O'Neil to act surprised by the Firefly Funhouse match. Gronk couldn't even be bothered to finish hosting WrestleMania. He's got to be the only host that never even finished hosting it. I'm throwing a bottle right at Gronk, and I'm throwing a bottle like right at his knees. So hopefully he gets injured and can't become a wrestler. Because if he goes any further in the wrestling world, I'm going to be just livid about it. Throwing a bottle, several bottles, right at his knees.
Yeah, we can opine on that if and when it happens. God, I'm with you. I hope it doesn't. All right, I'm throwing the bottle at whoever told Edge and Randy Orton that they could go for 38 minutes.
Oh man, I don't know who's in charge of that, but unfortunately.
And while we're at it, I hope it bounces off of him and hits whoever's in charge of putting ladders away at the end of the ladder matches, because that guy didn't do his damn job either.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that was I don't get the logic behind that, and I also think that look, maybe someone. Here's what I was thinking would happen. Honest to God, I thought they were going to move all the way around the Performance Center, which has a steel cage on top of its conference table, just in case you need to do a spot from the top of the conference table, by the way. I thought they were going to give us a tour of the Performance Center and under the guise of a wrestling match, but I didn't think they were going to stop for 10 minutes in every room. I also thought... I was also waiting for like a group of people with the 24/7 championship to run through and interrupt and draw the cameras away so that they could take a breather and prep for the finish. Not that you couldn't do this in multiple takes, because God knows, like, you pre-recorded this. But there was so much more that they could have done with this in so much less time. It was 20 minutes too long, and when it's a 38-minute match, oh my God, that drags on forever. And that was just I only timed this bell to bell. We had to wait an extra 30 seconds for Randy to not show up for his entrance music, and then drop the RKO, and then see if Edge wanted to continue the fight, and then it went 38 minutes after that.
Yeah.
So, I'm chucking the bottle at whoever made that decision.
Yeah. I hope it finds its mark.
Well, I'll say this. This is not a WrestleMania that we're ever going to forget.
Well, that's true. but not because of the content so much as the circumstances, though.
Well, he's Tony.
And he's the law.
We'll see you next time.
Cheers, everybody.